Welcome back to the Poker School, brought to you by Paddy Power Poker. Once you learn the basics of playing the game of Texas Hold'em, one of the first strategies that you'll need to comprehend in the game concerns your position in any given hand. It's only going to take a few hands of gameplay to realize that your relative position at the table changes every hand. That's because the dealer button moves one position clockwise around the table. This just makes the blind distribution fair to everybody playing. Think about position in poker as a direct correlation to the information you have at the table. The more information you have, the better you can adjust in regards to your strategic decision in every hand. Having to act early in the hand will be more challenging than getting to act later or last, simply because there are more players to act behind you and you just don't know what they're going to do. You know, you're just not going to be able to avoid learning and becoming really good at understanding and playing position in poker. It's a key variable in almost every hand. So let's take a look at how a poker table is divided up position-wise in poker. Firstly, there is early position, which is the most challenging position to play from because you have most or all players to act behind you without any inclination whatsoever as to how strong their hands are at this point. Next is middle position, where you have seen just a bit of action, but at least that's something because there are less players to act behind you now. From late position, most or all of the players have acted behind you, and you now have a much better idea as to how strong your situation is, and you can adjust to what has already transpired at the table. Remember, position equals information. Now, if you have played before, you'll know the blinds are actually acting last here, but that is only on the first round of action. In subsequent rounds, the blinds act first, and the dealer button acts last. Since the button has the advantage after the flop, stealing the blinds is a common pre-flop play because most good players realize they will be at a disadvantage after the flop. Okay, so you've seen the positional layout of a table now. Let's look at a hand scenario that changes drastically in regards to position. Let's say you have 10-7 suited in early position at this cash table, and you decide to put in a standard raise. Well, sure, it's a little aggressive, but totally acceptable. However, the player next to you decides to re-raise you, and then another player re-raises the both of you. This is all before the hand action comes back around. Now look at what you've done. What kind of information do you have now? Quite a bit, I'd have to say. Obviously, you do not have the best hand here, and furthermore, that player next to you who re-raised you originally still has to act behind you. He could conceivably re-raise yet again or even go all in. He could fold too, but the point is you don't know what will happen behind you, and this is going to be repeated in all subsequent rounds. So you really don't know how much this hand is going to cost you just to see a flop. Seeing expensive flops with hands like these out of position is a good recipe for going broke in short order. Now let's turn that around and we say you have the same hole cards at the cutoff position, which by the way is one before the dealer button, and there were 4 limpers before you. They've built the pot. Now you figure everyone has medium or weak hands that will be looking for help on the flop. You could re-raise here, but with this type of hand you could also get in cheap by limping with great odds. When you do that, you're simply hoping to flop a huge hand. These are the types of hands that can win huge pots, so it's a reasonable strategy here to limp, because you can do that many times and still make the play a profitable play by winning just those few big pots when you actually do hit a winner. Also, by having multiple opponents in this situation, you are far more likely to have action with these power hands. The point is, you're much more likely to get into these types of hands cheap simply because you've seen most of the action before you. With all those limpers as well, even if you do limp and get re-raised by one of the blinds in the first round, you can pretty much be assured that they have a really strong hand and you're still going to get out of the hand cheap. In reality, most flops are going to miss you entirely, which means it's critical that you get into these types of hands as cheaply as possible. As you can see, our position changed this same hand dramatically, and as you get a better feel for playing position effectively, you will realize that playing weak hands from early position is a rather much losing proposition, at least long term. You know, there are no strategic rules in poker, but when starting out, try and keep it straightforward and save those medium strength hands for late position only. Get in the habit of playing your strong hands with a raise from early position. And remember that position is so important in Hold'em that pots can be won based on that advantage alone, having very little to do with the cards. Position needs to become part of your game if you're going to be successful at Hold'em. Thanks for watching, and if this sounds interesting to you, you can learn more about playing position and other skills in Texas Hold'em at the Paddy Power Poker Academy.